Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from today. Thank you for joining our live discussion here to discuss the topic of how AI is reshaping the ERP software landscape. And this is a really exciting conversation. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this for weeks now, largely because this is a really interesting topic, but also because I've never in my career had an opportunity to sit down with 6 different software vendors, many of whom are rivals, by the way. And we're all going to sit in the same room and we're going to sit and talk about artificial intelligence. So I can't think of an event that even came close to this in my past. So thank you everyone who's here today, who we're going to introduce here in just a moment. And thank you to the audience for being here today. Real quickly, I'm going to jump into the questions real quickly here because we've got a lot to cover. We've got a lot of really smart people, knowledgeable, experienced people on the line here. But real quickly, before we get into the topic here, which is AI in the ERP software landscape, I want to turn it to Christian real quick from the Technology Evaluation Center team. And the reason I want to turn it to him is because these same software vendors that you're hearing from here today are also going to be at an event that TEC is hosting called the Enterprise Software Showcase. So Christian, I'll let you maybe describe what that event is. And I'm also going to put up a QR code up on the screen that people can learn more and register while you're explaining that.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric, for the introduction. I got to say, this is one hell of a panel. Never would I ever think I would get you all on the same live stream, aside from maybe at a bar over drinks. But one of the great things is that all of these vendors are actually going to be at the Enterprise Software Showcase, which is being held in May 7th to 9th in Orlando, Florida. One of the great opportunities for everyone to get an idea of what's going on with their digital transformation strategies, how they can support you, future building out roadmaps, and even more importantly, you can network with consultants, thought leaders, and have private meetings with all of them one-on-one.
Yeah, promises to be a great event, and all of us here will be there, myself included. Obviously, you'll be there, Christian, and all these vendors that you see here will be there as well. And really excited for that and looking forward to that event here in just a few weeks. So we know that since the mid-2010s, that's really when the whole AI thing started to really take off. And it's really been just in the last year and a half, I'd say, that the mass mainstream knowledge and understanding of AI has really escalated with ChatGPT and pop culture references to ChatGPT and AI and things of that nature. So really excited to chat here today about what it means to enterprise technology. There's a lot of buzz around it, a lot of excitement, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things we're still trying to figure out in the AI world. But we've got a lot of people on the forefront of emerging technologies like AI here today, and we're going to really dive into what AI means to ERP software today and the ways we should be thinking about it. So just to give everyone a real quick intro, and then I'm going to let each guest introduce themselves as we get through the questions here. We have Kerri from Epicor, we have Karen from Priority. We have Ranga from NetSuite, Rick from Infor, Raj from Rootstock, and Jeff is here from SAP, or an SAP VAR, representing the SAP ecosystem. So I'll let them all introduce themselves as we get into the questions here. But that's who we have in front of us: Epicor, Priority, NetSuite, Infor, Rootstock, and it's SAP via one of their partners. So to get started, I'm gonna start with Karen from Priority Software. I'm going to ask you this question to start, Karen. And what would you say have been the practical implications of incorporating artificial intelligence into ERP solutions?
Thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. Just to introduce myself before I'm answering the question. I'm Karen Scherer-Teiber, the VP Product Management at Priority Software. I'm in the ERP and business application industry for the last 26 years, which is more or less since I was born, doing different positions, both on the professional and on the business side. And in the last 10 years, I'm leading the Priority product group at Priority Software. Priority is a veteran technology leader in that arena. We have tens of thousands of organizations that using our cloud, open, agile business application platforms in more than 20 industries, 30 countries. And I'm really proud to be here today and to share our experience with incorporating AI and maybe other emerging technologies into our solutions. So for your question, Eric, I think that AI and ERP or any other business application is something that is actually all over the place. It's not a hype anymore, as you just mentioned. It's a real thing. A lot of organizations are already deployed AI capabilities. And we can talk, and I'm sure we will talk in this session about productivity, about cost reduction, about predicted analytics, about planning and forecasting. But I want to choose something that is quite different, and this is the experience, the user experience. And I'm choosing that one because user experience was since ever one of the challenges of business application. How can you take all that comprehensive, rich, complex functionality and just make it intuitive to the person who needs to use it? How can you make similar experience like the private application you used to have in his device? And it's almost impossible but when it comes to AI, it's becoming very simple, because today users have different set of expectation from the ERP system. They are not required and they are not interested to do all that bulk, repetitive, massive transaction recording as they used to do. And here come the automation. But it's not just a simple automation. Of course, also automation, all the ways through process automation and RPA, that we can record to the system and teach the system what process it can do for us. We can have the system autofill some data for us. We can make the system just activate the third-party application for us by webhooks. We can do many things by automation, but when it comes to AI, it's not only the automation, it's also the fact that those modules can actually learn and train themselves to fix the mistakes they already did. And maybe some mistakes that if a human being have done those transactions, he will also have. So we reduce the errors of the human being, and we actually have an extreme innovative digital experience for the user itself. And it's not end on that place, because AI also can think faster and take into consideration a lot of data that a human being maybe can do, but it will take a lot of time and not will be in a real time. So when you are getting insight from the system and you can do whatever you can do whenever you're looking at transactions such as upselling the point of sale or whatever, then you really improve everything in your organization processes. So that's part of the experience. I can talk a lot also about personalization and the fact that the system can just learn and monitor the user behavior and make sure that the workspace, the UI workspace of the ERP is exactly what he needs, and he is not enjoying or suffering from all that rich and busy forms of an ERP system.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Kerri from Epicor, what are your thoughts on that too? What are some of the implications of incorporating AI into ERP softwares, and how do you guys view that at Epicor?
Yeah, happy to talk about that. And thank you so much for putting on this event, because I think it's really important to get the message across that ERP should be at the core of your AI strategy. So, Kerri Jordan, I'm the Group Vice President of Product Management at Epicor. Epicor is a $1 billion. Actually, we just surpassed our $1 billion mark. There is a press release that went out this week, so we're really excited about that. Our CFO is actually at the New York Stock Exchange talking about it right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're a global provider of ERP solutions for what we call the make, move, sell economy. Those are manufacturers, distributors, building supply, retail, and automotive aftermarket. And when it comes to incorporating AI into ERP, the reason I say it should be core to the AI strategy is because that's where all of that critical business data is. And it should be, because it's in the ERP, already structured. So there's a sophisticated data ontology that allows you to apply AI in a way that reduces hallucinations, that provides accurate responses, so you can use it in business, consequential business decisions. So very, very important. We've already seen, are many ways in which AI has already been incorporated for years with ERP technology, such as MRP. It's an expert learning system. It learns from past production runs. And as advanced material requirements planning goes, it allows you then to run those production runs much faster because it's learning over time. AP automation, another great example, incorporating optical resolution scanning, right? So that it can incorporate that information, feed it into ERP, automating these systems. But with generative AI, this is where it gets exciting. This is where we can really start to push the bounds and create new customer value we've never seen before. An example, really easy one, would be incorporating generative AI into a learning assistant. So you could apply the generative AI to your learning library. This is something that Epicor is doing. And you could just ask very simple questions, especially if you're a new user of the ERP, right? You could say, how do I create a part? How do I do an order entry? And it will respond in very natural language ways. So just, again, beginning to scratch the surface at so many really exciting ways we can incorporate or AI into ERP, which are the screens that your users are comfortable and already familiar with every day.
It's the back office transactional data that feeds into AI as well, which makes the AI models learn better and work better in that regard.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Before I I'm going to turn it to Ranga from Oracle NetSuite here in just a second. But before I do, just real quickly, I'd be curious to hear from the audience. I know we've got a lot of people on the LinkedIn Live right now, on the YouTube Live, Facebook, Twitter, X as well. Love to hear from you guys. What are you seeing in the AI world, or what are you most interested in the world of AI and ERP? And love to hear that in the chat here. And also, speaking of the chat too, if you don't mind, if you have any questions along the way, just drop those in the chat. We're going to get to some of those questions, and we'll kind of open it up for discussion as we go here. And also be interested to hear where everyone's joining from today too. I know I'm asking a lot of questions here of the audience, but just drop in the chat what city and country you're joining from, if you don't mind. And we'd love to hear from you there. So Ranga from Oracle NetSuite, what are your thoughts on this whole topic?
Yeah, thanks, Eric, and thanks for. It's great to be on this panel with a great set of rivals, as you put it. The Ranga Bodla, I run field engagement and marketing for Oracle NetSuite. Actually, a 14-year veteran of NetSuite. So about 7 years prior to the acquisition by Oracle, and then 7 years after that. If you're not familiar with NetSuite, our big thing has always been we were the first really provider to market in 1998, and 25 years later, we're still operating as really the leading cloud ERP provider with over 37,000 customers around the world, every size, industry, you name it, we're out there. Kerri, I really appreciated your comments about incorporating AI into the ERP, and I couldn't agree more. And it's really, I think, one of the biggest things that we think about as well. I mean, really, you think about the thing that feeds AI is you got to have good data. If you have crappy data, you're going to have crappy AI. And so, the best AI is going to come from the best data, and the best data is going to come from, a comprehensive ERP system that is leveraging that. The other piece that I think is really important, and Kerri talked a little bit about this, but I want to build on that, is we know that with ERP, the best thing is going to come is when more users are using it and you have that adoption. If it's a benefit to them as opposed to a hindrance, if they're using it in their everyday job. And that's really where I see AI really driving adoption of these systems. If people are using it, it's making their job better. It's enabling them to be happier, more productive. That's really where I see the practical implications. And that's why our strategy when we think about AI is everywhere. Within it's not an add-on. It's not it's not this bolt-on that you put onto the ERP system. It really has to be embedded into all the business processes that ERP can help support. And that's really where we think about it, and really what we're trying to drive. Whether you're talking about supply chain, whether you're talking about HR, whether it's these value streams about how you acquire and grow customers, or how you drive order to cash, and making sure the AI is incorporated in all of those elements. And that's a real big part of our roadmap and where we're going, and what we've already put in place, but then also where we see going. And to me, an ERP without AI is like a car without wheels, and that's really where we see this driving towards. And excited for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, that's great sound feedback. How about you, Christian, from TEC? And by the way, speaking of TEC, this QR code right here, right to the left of me, is where you can scan to learn more about this event coming up, the ESS event in Orlando. But Christian, what are your thoughts on this whole topic here?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, technology evaluation centers, we are an impartial advisory firm when it comes to enterprise software selection. So some of the views and points that we have isn't necessarily in regards to the software, but we have to consider from an organizational standpoint, what exactly are these practical implications? And just to build on what Raj was saying is that data is key. If organizations have a data-centric approach, they're looking at the information, AI is only going to allow you to move that along and to increase your productivity and provide more intelligence and make it more actionable quicker. And sorry, it was Ranga that said that, not Raj.
That's okay.
Yeah, so just to sum it up, as Kerri as well mentioned, the ERP is the foundation of that. So with regards to implementing or considering an AI strategy, without the core ERP properly set up, without proper data, garbage in, garbage out, none of that will make sense. You know, we already are on that path. It's not a new topic. Hyper automation, business process has been around for ages, and even RPA. Once you've had all those steps, then I think AI is the next step. And in order to remain competitive, you got to consider it.
Right. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, this is really interesting to seeing how the two technologies are coming together, you know, the world of ERP and how essential that is to leveraging AI the way its potential can enable. To what extent and what ways can AI enable ERP systems to increase productivity? And let's start with you, Rick.
Yeah, awesome. Rick from Infor. So not to be repetitive with some of the other companies here, obviously we're all covering similar areas, but Infor covers anywhere from industry specific, from healthcare to discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing, you name it. Covering both SMB with a pretty big presence there, as well as a pretty big presence in the enterprise space as well. Infor is maybe a little bit different in that our industry specificity was built from the ground up in the ERP engines themselves. So we have several that are purpose fit for that. We've got one centralized hub, though, in our cloud platform that ties them all together and creates what we call the cloud suite. And the reason I bring that up, that's the main area of coverage for me. So I run product management primarily on that main centralized cloud hub. So integration, data management, AI, our new generative AI offerings all kind of come there together because we're trying to abstract that level of innovation so that we can do it a little bit more quickly. So obviously, when we're talking about systems productivity, it's near and dear to my heart because it's something that we're always looking at. Because ERP, at the end of the day, is a collection of business process, right? They're not necessarily all that different. Some can do them a little bit differently based on industry or micro verticals. But if you take something like order to cash, for instance, that all of us are familiar with, it's a subsequent steps of all these different things that if you're applying artificial intelligence, whether it be from an experience point of view, like Karen was talking about, or if it's back in automation using AI and some sort of API flow behind the scenes, you're inherently speeding up that system. We used to talk about companies being able to pivot all the time, right? Whenever COVID happens, what happens? But we're going into this world of like self-adjusting and self-healing systems. So that sort of productivity is something that we're heavily investing in and we're seeing because we're lucky to be able to see it across multiple applications. But it also goes to the level of when you're building these types of things, whether it's a new in-context experience for sales recommendations or part recommendations or asset intelligence, whatever it might be. The ability to build those things, obviously we all know Gen AI is this huge game changer that you don't have to know code. You don't have to necessarily have as deep of a data science background because it's opening up the world to be able to create this sort of intelligent content so much faster that's getting injected directly back into the ERP experience, the end user experience, which at the end of the day means a better customer experience, which I believe we're probably going to get into. But yeah, it's an exciting space that I'm really excited for and happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very exciting. How about you, Raj? We haven't heard from you yet, but what are your thoughts on how AI is enabling productivity?
Yeah, no, thanks, Eric. Look, I think that the panelists here have captured a lot of these things, but I think there's one important dimension that we should think about when it comes to AI. And that is nothing to do with technology, but it is to do with generational knowledge transfer. What do I mean by that? think about what's happening in the manufacturing sector today. By the way, I'm with Rootstock, and Rootstock is focused on the manufacturing sector. We're the number one ERP on the Salesforce platform, but the youngest of my siblings here on the call, right? So clearly that's where we're coming from. What we're looking at is an entire new generation is coming into the workplace right now. And manufacturing as a sector, is skewing demographically towards a lot of the knowledge and experience actually exiting the workforce very soon, right? I mean, we are looking at a lot of gray hair, more than mine, but they're already retiring right now. They're coming to that age. So what do we do, right, from an AI standpoint to make sure that this experience, which is so valuable, is not lost? So we're looking at AI as a way to capture the learnings from that, generation and transfer it seamlessly to the younger workforce that's coming in. And everything that we end up doing, whether it's predictive investment, generative investments, is a way to accomplish that. Essentially, think about this. It's the training wheels that we need to provide to help adopt it. And I believe it's incumbent on all of us here on this call to not to hype up this technology more, but to really look for practical usages, especially for conservative, risk-averse industries who are already sick and tired of the hype. They don't know what to do with it. I can't run my business on generative AI. I'm sorry, right? It's a portion of this problem that we have to solve. But I think we have over-indexed so much on the hype that we're forgetting what the practical reality is.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take on this.
That's really well said. I think that, just being more practical about it, what exactly is it to our organization? How are we going to use it? Even just educating, why is everything we do in the transactional side of things, why is that important to AI, and how does that affect AI and that sort of thing? So you're right. There's a big human component that we've got to work on here, rather than, I think we're getting past the hype now. Okay, we all get it. AI is a big deal. We're all excited about it. Now, what does it mean? I think that's where we're at right now, is let's understand what it means. And I appreciate you guys are doing a nice job helping us understand that. And then last but not least, the last guest we haven't heard from yet is Jeff. So Jeff, I'll let you introduce yourself and answer that question too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me. So I'm representing SAP. I'm with Cognitus. We're one of the SAP Gold partners. SAP is run on a network of partners, thus me being one of those. So I've been doing the SAP implementations and different things for about 15 years. So I'm one of the managing directors at Cognitus. So today, really focused on, obviously love to be with the peers here, not enemies, frenemies. How about that? We all make each other better, Gen AI, et cetera. All these types of things we talk about is really fun. So and pertaining to the question, about the productivity boosts and things, with the recent implementations we're doing, you can't do it without AI. Any of the demos that we're giving, right, as this team on board here, if you don't use the word AI, you're not going forward, right? So I think about 20 to 40%, depending on the different area that you're talking about. So, like Rick even said, with the faster processing times, we see that across the board. Whether you're talking about efficiency or accuracy, that happens all over the place. One of the biggest ones we've seen, especially in the SAP space, people think of that as kind of a large ocean. I got to memorize these T codes and things like that. That's a thing of the past. You have these chat bots and different things. Even when you go to your bank, right? You log in, you get a chat bot that pops up. A lot of those are in our ERPs now. So when you go in, let's show me my open AR on this customer. You can do that really quickly. And that improves the speed of folks that don't log in every day, or shop floor users that want to see what warehouse tasks do I need to pick on my outbounds this morning. Things like that are really quick to their fingertips, right? On the scanners even. And also, just getting all of those decisions to their fingertips as far as predictive analytics, the data volume sets that come in from the customer demand and all those types of things. But that's kind of those practical examples that I like to think of, Raj, like you said, how can we be practical about it? How do we understand Gen AI and those types of things? Even OCR, that's always been around for 15, 20 years now, but the learning language models behind it, how do we actually understand those documents and make sure that we can make them better when the customers send those in on a quotation side or a vendor on the invoice side, whatever that looks like. So that'll be my take.
Yeah, well said. A lot of the fundamental foundational pieces of AI have been around for a while. It's just now that we're getting to it sort of in the enterprise space and trying to figure out how to bring it all together. And I love this whole conversation around how, AI is a great tool, but it's only as powerful as we make it within our organizations and as powerful as we allow our people to use it. And so a lot of that's going to be defining for people. How are we going to use AI? What does it mean to this organization? And what's that process going to look like? And I'd say there's a heavy component of organizational change management to organizational design, and really just helping define those detailed processes and how AI is going to be leveraged. Because it's not just going to do your job for you. It could do a lot of your job for you if you instruct it and if you do it right. But there's a lot of human interaction that has to go there. Last but not least, I'm going to introduce myself. I don't think I ever did. Eric Kimberling. I'm with Third Stage Consulting, and we're an independent consulting company that is not affiliated with any of these software vendors here today or any other software vendors for that matter. And we help clients with digital strategy, software selection, and implementation support as well. So that's who I am, and thank you for allowing me to facilitate here today. And speaking of that, just a couple audience comments and questions here. This is from Ermin on LinkedIn. He says, "Thank you, Eric, for bringing all these industry leaders. Just to clarify, I did not bring these industry leaders together. It was actually TEC. It was Christian and his team at TEC that brought them all together. I'm just here. I'm just the face, the talent, or whatever you want to call it. So thanks. It's really Christian that brought it all together here. So thank you, TEC, for that. Curious, this is off script here. I just want to ask this question because it's a question I get a lot, and I think it's especially for those younger people earlier in their career that are listening right now. This is from Eamon from YouTube. Eamon says, "What would be better to pursue in a career, AI or data science?" I'm just going to open up to the floor here. Anyone that wants to answer that question, I'll open it to you guys.
I'll just throw out an answer here. I think right now, data science, honestly, because it's you gotta have a foundation. Here's the thing. I don't think any of us on this stream can say where AI is going to be in even 6 months. Like we have our predictions. We know that it's moving really quickly and it's going to only continue to rapidly iterate. But the thing about data science is it's a really good foundation that's going to help you in terms of AI. So I always say, particularly when talking to like finance individuals too, data science, statistics, some of these things that are like the baseline part of this, I think provide a really good foundation. So that's my opinion. And, I think, there's lots of things you gotta make sure you educate yourself on AI. Everybody in the industry does. But as far as a career goes, I think getting that foundation data science is going to only help. That's my perspective.
I'll provide another view of that. It kind of depends on the field in which you want to pursue a career. So I would imagine a data science career is going to be more along the lines of building with the data science, helping the C-suite navigate data science types of decisions. If you pursue a career in AI, I'm in product management and I get to build with AI and chart the strategy for AI and think through solving really tough customer problems, and then work with data scientists and those who have specialized in AI, to bring that to life as a solution for an organization to solve their problems. You could also, I'm sure, pursue a career of marketing, being able to translate, to normal language, what it means to work with AI and to build with AI and the value that it can create. So my recommendation would be to think through the field in which you want to pursue, and then that might help you decide AI or data science.
Just to add to what Kerri said, right? The choice is, do you want to buy or sell the cake, or do you want to be a baker? That's the choice. Mm-hmm. They both are related to each other.
I like the way you put that better, though.
Yeah, that is well said. Very well said. And I appreciate you guys saying this too, because I have a son who's looking at colleges, and I've been trying to convince him that he should major or minor in data science. He wants to do business, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not a computer guy." And I said, "Yeah, you don't have to be. It doesn't matter. You need data science is a great skill to have, no matter what field you go into." So totally agree with you guys. I think that's a good feedback.
And
there.
As far as I see, there are different skills to be a data scientist or an AI architect solution, and of course, because most of us are coming from the product or from the marketing, so we will probably be more with AI or any other architecture solution, and not by the data scientist, which is more R&D technology part.
Right. Now here's the first bit of AI humor that we're getting here today. This is from Patricia on LinkedIn. She says, "Woman on the phone says, my husband accidentally swallowed an aspirin. What should I do now? Give him a headache," says the doctor. So her question here, which sort of leads into her question here, which is how do you avoid unnecessary AI solutions? I guess that's maybe more of a general question, is like, how much of this that you guys are seeing so far how much of it is, call it necessary or, really valuable versus something that's more pie in the sky, nice to have sort of thing. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, because I think we're sort of dancing around that exact question.
I think it's a little bit different in the enterprise software space than what we see in even some of these examples, which are hilarious. But the use of filters, and you talk to AWS or any other Google vendor out there, Azure, and they tell you leave it open to different types of models for different scenarios. So I think we're anticipating that we're going to know the exact way to take all this stuff out. The more that you can make it personalized, that comes with a certain cost model, right? But the more that you can apply filters to make sure that you're filtering out all that noise and getting to the right answer, the better. But I can understand the question, but you've got to be a little bit more careful, obviously, in the enterprise space than just going out into hitting the open market.
Right. Yeah, and just some other comments from the audience. William on YouTube says, my wife has her PhD in what is essentially data science. The opportunities are many. And this is from Syed from YouTube. Is AI is to help ERP bring data, document communication, and knowledge in a single database so customers can get actionable data. And I assume he means employees can get actionable data as well. So great stuff there. This is I'm just getting to some of these really interesting comments from the audience too, because I think this adds some color to what we're chatting about here. But this is from Shmuel on LinkedIn. Shmuel says AI should assist the CEO in understanding how the organization is running, highlighting the major problems such as cash flow issues, etc. Now the CEO is not using the ERP system, but if you will, the entire organization will use it too. So that's a really interesting point. If you can get the executive team on board with the benefits and the value of AI, and they actually start relying more on their ERP system rather than just relying on a report that someone manipulated out of Excel or whatever. I think that's a great opportunity for people to really embrace it. And sort of speaking of that, along those same lines, I want to come to you here, Ranga, as far as how can ERP systems help reduce operating costs? Have you seen that? It's sort of similar to the previous questions around increasing productivity, but here we're talking about operating costs. Do you think there's an opportunity for AI to do that within the world of ERP?
I definitely think so. And I think your point or comment just about the CEO side is, that commentary about adoption. If the executives are using it, then that just means more folks are going to be using it. And then, then you're not splintering and putting things elsewhere or creating data silos. But I think there are a number of different areas where I do think it can help drive an improvement in operating costs. And I think some of it is just automation. Again, we've always said with ERP, there's always an opportunity to do automation, and AI just furthers that in my perspective. Automating of routine tasks, getting better inventory management. I think actually, I can't remember who, one of the other panelists actually made some other comments about on the manufacturing side. There's things on procurement, but I do think that right now in particular, we are in a talent shortage. And, one of the things that, that people are being asked to do more and more. And one of the ways in which, instead of having to go and hire, or you can't necessarily find those hires, you can drive that out of, the increased usage of the system. And so I think that's one of the areas where you can actually reduce costs, by taking some of that automation on.
Just to add to what Ranga said here, Eric, right? We're in the middle of a fantastic technology sandwich, right? Let me explain what I mean by that. It's all food related stuff now. There's disruptions that we thought that AI is going to do on the low end of the market. Mainly, we think about from the world of automation, we thought, repetitive tasks and things like that is the first thing that AI is going to come for. But not only did that not happen, AI actually went on the high end, right? So this is about conceptualization. Think about what generative AI can do, right? Which is about writing stuff trained in the corpus of whatever is available in the World Wide Web. So you're getting this fantastic squeeze of AI on the high end, right? Where copywriters are losing their jobs right now. It's like, why would you go for a copywriter right now? It's been insane, right? For those of you guys who have seen this. And then on the low end, you have robotics that's taking over all the automation bit. So it's kind of an interesting shift that's happening in the market with this technology sandwich on how will our customers adopt to this new world where the classical model of how you think about technology, maturity, growth, and so on is no longer working. Now, not that I have answers for it, but I'd love to sort of get your take and the panelists' take as well on that.
Yeah, great question. I turn to the other panelists here. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
One of the things I think is really compelling is that all of us right now are in this moment where we get to decide the future of AI in our industries and our technologies. And it's really important that, so that we're not using AI for AI's sake, but using it to create real customer value, that we all lean in and participate and identify those areas where there's a responsible use of AI to lower operational costs, to increase cost savings, to reduce carbon emissions. Like, there are some really tough problems of our time, talent shortage, but with the use of AI, we can really tackle them head on in ways that we've never been able to do before.
Yeah, and to build on that a little bit, because I completely agree with Kerri, and to the previous question, yes, there's always going to be this sort of like squeeze of cost, and automation and AI enhancing that is always going to be there. How can I make this process run more efficiently, faster? And for instance, like we've got some examples of like service job costs going down because we can do in context product recommendation for first time fixes, and there's been 30% decrease in costs for customers for that. But at the same time, we've seen actually and arguably a whole lot more of new opportunities develop in business models as opposed to the cost constraint. So we're starting to see that shift in a lot of our customer base to say, yes, it is about cost constraint, but once we see the benefit, oh, wow, there's all these other markets that we can go after and all these other opportunities. And heck, it might increase our costs a little bit. That's okay, because our margin's fantastic.
Right. Yeah, it makes total sense. And Kerri, I want to come back to you too for a second, just to build on what Ranga was talking about a moment ago about reducing operating cost. How in addition to solving some of the world's problems or things we've never thought about before that you just mentioned, how can AI help companies reduce operating costs? How do you see that unpacking?
Yeah, I do think one of the key ways is through user productivity gains. One of the ways in which we see it playing out within the Epicor ERP solutions is using AI to build configurations, right? So when you get the ERP, you have a unique business, everybody does, and you need to tweak it. And you can now use generative AI. You could say things like, I need to generate a report that highlights this in red and highlights this in yellow. And maybe you don't know how to code that, but you can use the generative AI to create that report, and it appears the way that you need it to, and it can send it to the users. And now they're able to access that information and now do their job much faster, right? So there are little ways that as we're incorporating generative AI into our systems, we're creating those user productivities that then, generate excellent operational cost savings.
Yeah, great point. How about you, Karen? What are your thoughts on this operating cost reduction opportunity within AI?
So I will take you to the supply chain management or to the logistic heavy processes, because I think that this is one of the places that we see a huge adoption of AI capabilities. Regarding the question we just had before, is that AI that we are pushing or solving a real problems that we are pushing? So when we are getting to awareness, first of all the idea that we can predict the real demand of our products, and then we can plan our inventory level based on additional things, not only the traditional MRP or traditional planning of ERP or business application, because now we can take into consideration market trend and historical data and seasonality and maybe other things with our customers' behavior, taking all of that into consider, and then we have like more accurate product demands and inventory level. We should not be in the same overstock or understock that we used to be before the AI period. And it's not only that. Let's imagine how we should do the picking, routing in the warehouse when we want to fulfill an order. Even there, when we can do optimization with AI capabilities, how to load the track, I can give you a lot of example. The pick by voice, it's another AI capability based on automation or generative AI. We mentioned that as well. But we want the warehouse employee to have its hands-free, so we will be able to collect packages or whatever. And we want him to talk to the application with his voice, and the application to understand and to proactively guide him how to fulfill his order in the best way. And we can move forward to the routing efficiency of the track and distribution, and the fact that we can navigate in real time based on the traffic and based on the weather and so on and on. So when it comes to heavy logistic processes and supply chain management, we have so many practical, real problems that can be solved or better solved by AI capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to jump to you for a second, Rick, and ask you a question here around. And I'm asking a couple of you the same question, but can you give a specific example of how some of your ERP customers are using AI and what the benefits for them have been? Like just those real life use cases of not just pie in the sky stuff that could happen, but these are actually situations where your clients or your customers are actually using AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned one a little bit earlier. I jumped the gun a little bit, I think, but for service jobs, right? We have customers that are using in context insights to say, hey, for this particular customer, for this reason, or this vendor. So it's upstream and downstream both ways. What's the scenario that's best adjusted for this? So it's not just like parts recommendations, but it's pricing intelligence. But what's interesting about that is it puts customers on a life cycle to say, hey, maybe I don't trust this. Maybe that insight, that tribal knowledge that I do have, I think there was a comment about this earlier, it puts them on a journey to say, okay, now I'm starting to trust it more and more and more because the data is getting better and better and better. So we have customers doing that. We've got customers doing asset intelligence for uptime, but then passing those savings down to their various customers. We've got track and trace resolution for customers on the supply chain. So for instance, if we've got something bad going on in ingredients, but it doesn't happen until downstream, understanding that faster through AI predictions and different levels throughout the process, being able to get to that customer resolution, but to also stop production upstream so that we minimize that sort of problem. So all of these are in the area that we're currently seeing in production today.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Raj? What are some examples of how your customers are seeing AI actually deliver benefits to their organizations now?
I'll give you one real great story that we just saw a couple of weeks ago at our conference called Rooted In. So one of our customers, I'd say he because it was the president of the company, and I listened to him speak on that. He's the owner and founder of a textile startup. So they make essentially uniforms and things like that for folks that you can order. So one of the things that he was struggling with is, this concept of product configurator, right? We've all seen this, right? It's the ability for someone to come in and configure exactly the right style, the right color. And there's so many combinatorial sort of patterns that emerge, right, in terms of making an order. And so they had a product configurator, but it turns out that product configurator, where it's great technology solution, it's really shitty from a customer experience perspective, because if you can't visualize what you're ordering, you really don't know how to buy it. So he did something absolutely amazing. He was able to take generative AI and essentially create every possible combination of how these things coming in using Rootstock ERP as a constraint engine. So that way, you don't end up creating a product or hallucinating a product that doesn't exist and that cannot be made and cannot be built. But putting these two things together of generative AI, creating a catalog, and really converting it to a bit of an e-commerce sort of operation, if you will, right? So you really went from a custom sort of ETO kind of operation to an e-commerce like operation, and triple sales over 3 years, tripled it. It's just fantastic. So to me, that's what gives me, the hope and excitement of what we're doing with AI is like, look, it's got to be founded and grounded in some level of reality. The last thing I will say is let's avoid the Cisco problem. What do I mean by that? Cisco a few years ago jumped on the IoT bandwagon. We saw this, right? This happened like 10 years ago. They ended up redefining every single piece of technology out there, including the internet, and called it IoT. we have to stop not doing the same hype. We cannot fall into the same trap to say, let's take every form of automation there is, every use case in ERP that exists, and let's call it AI. Let's not do that. Let's focus on real incremental value, because this is exactly what's going to happen with IoT. It's going to go up like this, and it's going to die a quick death, because all of our customers are going to look at us and say, this is bullshit. This thing has happened before. You guys are saying the same thing, putting old wine in a new bottle. So we just have to be aware and conscious of what we talk about.
It's a great point. We want this to become more than just another buzzword that we throw in there, like IoT, Industry 4.0, art of possible, whatever. Pick a buzzword or a phrase. And in AI, I think what we're saying is it's not another buzzword. There's actual benefits and value here. We just have to figure out, as technologists and also as organizations deploying these technologies, we have to figure out how we're going to best leverage that technology that makes sense for us. Exactly. How about you, Jeff? From in the SAP world, how are you seeing? What are a couple examples where you're seeing customers use S/4HANA to deliver value in the AI front?
Yeah, so, and it's funny, Raj, you mentioned IoT, so we pretty much scrapped that term from our landscapes in terminology. So one thing that, at one of our recent customers, I do a lot of the asset heavy industries for us at Cognitus. So, something that's also more beneficial for customers is the cost point or price point. So with Amazon, you can use something called Monitron for all the machine sensors and things like that. So across the plant floor, the sensors and all of that's feeding that back into S4 SAP. So what we did there with the AI was hooking all of that up for the predictive analytics or predictive maintenance. And Rick, you did allude to this a little bit, but pushing that back into kind of the demand side to say, okay, if you have these breakdowns, how's it actually going to affect your demand? So kind of the uptime, downtime stream within that. So a real life example with that customer. But expanding on that a little bit, we have a lot of kind of field service management customers. We have assets in the field. So we also have them investing more in these sensors where they can actually hook into the satellites and things and be remote. So what AI does is pick all that up and make it more predictive maintenance. So when those machines are failing, the vibrations get too high, whatever the calibrations need to be within the different sense or within the different monitoring. So those are feeding back into their systems and also back into SAP so that different notifications are being created. They have like a ServiceNow, let's say, a portal, or even any SAP system, doesn't matter what it is. It's really system agnostic. Then those tickets get sent down into SAP. We start building all of that data up. It gets sent back out to them because it could be certain warranties need to be evaluated. You want to make sure that, your cost savings, you're not just fixing things for the sake of fixing things, and you're increasing your equipment lifespan, things like that, because these asset heavy industries, that's where your main cost is. You also want to make your customers happy. That's the end of the day, your revenue streams and all of that. So that's a very specific use case that we really started honing in on more and more recently, because it's funny, Raj mentioned the IoT. That wasn't really necessarily really ready for prime time when that came out, but now it is. So that's been in reality recently.
Yeah, and it's I think what you're saying, Jeff, and just hearing these examples from the rest of the panelists too, is there's just so many different ways we can use AI. I think, again, we've got there's a focus issue here. We've got to say, where, in your example, Jeff, if it's the shop floor and that's where we need to look at maintenance or repair of equipment or whatever it is, or of shop floor machinery, that's great. I mean, we just need to define where we think the most value is within our organization. And I want to actually pull up a comment that's really, I think, kind of highlights this point a bit. This is from Billy Jeans on YouTube. I don't know if that's a Michael Jackson reference or if it's a jean company. Either way, if that's a jean company, that's a great name, by the way. But I don't know what Billy Jeans is, but now I need to go look that up. Anyway, Billy Jeans on YouTube says, is there a software system that automatically sends emails to buyers when orders are unconfirmed? That's literally all I need to fix my problems. And I don't know that we need to answer that necessarily. I think we can safely say that yes, there probably are ways you could do that with AI and other automation tools. But the reason I pull it up is not necessarily to answer this question, which I think is yes, there are ways to do that. But I think this is interesting because it sort of brings it back to this human dimension that I think Raj and others had referred to before, which is, there's opportunities out throughout your organization. There's probably 1 million of them, of opportunities like this exact one right here. This is a micro example of how we might be able to use AI and other forms of automation to improve our business. And I think that's a part of kind of looking at what you've got today and how you can improve your technologies and potentially use AI to tackle some of these challenges. And if you can make one person's job this much easier, according to what Billy Jeans is saying. Imagine if you could do that across your entire enterprise and all these that are there. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I want to do sort of a lightning round here, and ask each of the people to comment here on, in the next 2 to 3 years, what will your company focus on in terms of incorporating additional AI capabilities into your AI? And I'm just going to kind of go in order of how I see people. So why don't we start with you, Raj?
Oh, okay. So we're going to be looking at, helping our customers make better decisions, right? Leveraging with, data that they currently have, which are unique data sets, not just about generative, which is more on the open web. So helping our customers make decisions that matter using AI that matters. That's what we're building.
Great. And then I'm going to ask you next, Jeff. Why don't we go to you then?
Yeah, sure. So for our company, we are developing some products on the inbound side for sales contracts and things. But what I will say, a major focus of ours right now is increasing the speed of implementation. So someone mentioned that earlier. It's not uncommon, but certainly, if you're putting data in these questionnaires, everyone wants to implement software faster, and also realize the value much quicker, right? So predictive analytics will be there. Different things are going to be coming in. And a lot of that will be built within the software from different companies, different ways. But for us, a major focus is, hey, if you answer these 10 questions, we can speed up your implementation by, I'll just say 10% or whatever it is. And that's a big focus of ours. Make it more accurate as well.
Yeah. How about you, Kerri?
Yeah. First of all, Billy Jeans, I feel you. It's like, I feel like that came from a place of frustration. And that's exactly what we hope AI to be able to solve for, right? Those kinds of daily challenges that could be automated. And that's what we're going to be focusing on doing at Epicor. We're calling this cognitive ERP, and that is infusing AI and contextual intelligence throughout all of the operational workflows and connecting that data that is the backbone of your organization to others across the business so that you have a flow of data, a common thread, and a source of truth so that you can automate from system to system. And it can help you do that. It'll anticipate ways, and you shouldn't have to know what the prompts are. It'll serve up those insights and suggestions to you. Cognitive ERP is what we're calling that.
Cognitive ERP. That's very cool. How about you, Rick?
Yeah, so it's a little bit similar, and we call it the connected intelligence experience. There's been a lot of emphasis in what does it mean for the end users today. I think we read one comment about CEO dashboarding and whatnot. We're working on how do you bring that intelligence and create these advanced personas for those that may not be advanced in these technologies, right? They don't necessarily care where these answers are coming from. So when we talk about connected intelligence, it's this combination of how's my business process functioning, right? CEO really cares about that, or the COO really. We talk about the traditional analytics or BI, but at the same time, how do we make that more predictive and combine that into a user experience where they're not going around? It's completely changing how people view ERP, right? It's just a business process served up in an entirely different way. And if you think about how we've talked about business users and the evolving workforce, they don't view it the same way. So if we can serve it up to them and do things like business simulations and make their work more strategic and less tactical, it almost provides this sort of like gamification to it, doesn't it? Like to where if I can somehow impact the business, even though I don't know really how it's doing, but you're protecting the system with governance off of one platform, that's really where we're focused.
Right. Yeah, great. How about you, Ranga, from Oracle NetSuite perspective? What are you guys doing with AI in the future?
I've said this a few times, and I just will come back to it, which is I think the biggest thing is how do we continue to drive adoption? And so our focus is really this notion of AI everywhere. We think about AI across the suite, and thinking about, as we think about the value streams of how people use our system, whether it's acquiring and growing customers, creating and delivering products and services, hiring and empowering employees, or optimizing cash and profits, thinking about AI in each of those use cases, and how do you then drive continued adoption? And again, it's not about yet another thing or another task I've got to go take on, but how do we make the job easier and also make and drive adoption and increase that within all of our users? So that's really going to be our focus and where we're going to be really driving over the next couple of years.
Great. And then how about you, Karen, from Priority Software? What's your perspective on the future of AI within Priority?
So currently in progress with our flexible agenda that we have in our platform is the fact that we're collaborating prediction capabilities into our analytics capabilities in the system in a way that someone just mentioned, which is like self-service, and the user will be able to take some prediction. It can be a churn of customers, or it can be inventory forecasting, and put it exactly as part of the reports that he built for himself in the system, and not like an external AI machine. That's one thing. And of course, we're keep working on experience. So all the generative AI as part of the natural language processing. And we all know that it's going to that place that those machines will be able to understand not only the content, but also the context and the intent. And in this way, we can just chat or talk to our system. Those things are already exist. But what the AI is doing here is just proactively guide you to the business processes. And the last thing that we are currently working in, it's like collaboration of the two tracks that I've just mentioned, the fact that we are going to have like a risk management dashboard where the AI is going to proactively assist users to have better decision processes by giving them insights that they could have find if they went to the analytics or issue any report. But now it's going to be in a push way, but it's not the only thing that AI is going to learn and to push to the users. It will always recommend what are the best actions that could be done, learning from the users and what they are usually do when they find that specific information in the system.
Right. Great. That's perfect. And I'm going to ask Christian one last question, and we may lose a couple panelists just because we're at the top of the hour, and I know there's people with hard stops. So if you see people disappear, we'll go for a couple minutes longer. But for those that do have to drop, if we do lose anyone here, thank you for this panel. This is an awesome panel. I love facilitating this group. My challenge to Christian is I'd say to Christian, let's do this again sometime because this is super fun. Sure. And love to have this group again because I think there's a lot of stuff we could spend hours on this. So I'm going to ask you a question. If we lose people, thank you to anyone we lose here right now. But Christian, just to sort of wrap things up, first of all, we talked about the ESS event, which you can register, learn more, scan this QR code right here before you drop off this live stream. Make sure you check it out. It's going to be a great event. I'll be speaking there. Everyone here on this panel will be there as well. So it should be a great event. It's one of the few events where you're going to get a cross technology view of the world. But I guess just to wrap things up, Christian, what do you see the future as AI? You know, you guys, both TEC and Third Stage, we work with a lot of different technologies, a lot of different customers throughout the world. What do you see as the future of AI? Where do you see it headed in ERP systems?
Definitely, and we've all brought it up. I think the success for AI is adoption. It has to be something that's not intrusive. It has to almost feel seamless with your workflow, with your actions, your day-to-day tasks. And one thing that people don't necessarily understand is that the engine that's running behind it, that's the secret. And what it produces as an end result, that's the benefit. So from what we've seen, and even on our side, when we go through selection projects, people ask, well, what's the benefit? What is the ROI? Just like when we saw the adoption to cloud 8 years ago, people were like, I don't know, my data, is it secure? Is it not? We are at the cusp, and we've all addressed it, that we are at a stage where we can say where it will go, but more importantly, how it will be adopted. From what we see, just like cloud adoption, it took maybe 5-6 years, and now it's a standard. AI being implemented will start now, but it'll probably get only fully adopted in the next 2-3 years. The topic is only starting, and it's up to us to answer those questions, support how the businesses are run, and definitely get people on board.
It's great stuff. Great way to leave it. Thank you, guys. And thank you to the audience for all the great questions. Be sure to follow everyone here. We've tagged them in the post here. You can see their faces here. Follow them on LinkedIn, learn about their companies, all that good stuff. Scan the QR code right here before you drop off. Again, my name is Eric Kimberling, Third Stage Consulting. We're independent, tech agnostic as well. So love to chat with you at some point in the future. So thanks everyone for being here today. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.